I'm a slow starter. And even with all the greatest things I've ever done, I'm in 5 Business Hall of Fames, and the things that we've done, 5 bestsellers, primetime, #1 primetime business show on the networks. All the podcast started on CBS Network, everything, and yet I would still tell you I'm a slow starter. So yeah.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Leaders Talk. As usual, I'm excited to be here with you. I'm Andrew Dupe, Chief Relations Officer here at Leaders Press. And today I have a very special guest. I have Jeffery Hayzlett. He gets paid more for Jeff. Sorry.
Exactly.
Yeah, Jeffrey's here with us today. Jeffrey, how are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you very much. Well, just like you, I'm a podcast host. I'm a television host on C-Suite TV, C-Suite Radio. I've got a show called All Business with Jeffery Hayzlett on both of those networks. And of course, those networks are distributed on OTT, which is over-the-top television, streaming television, as well as podcast engine. You can even find me on places like United Airlines and a host of others. I'm a business person. I serve on about 14 corporate boards. 4 of those are publicly traded companies. And then I've, in my career, bought and sold a couple hundred businesses over about 25 billion in revenue. I'm a former Fortune 100 officer, and still active and doing a lot of things in various businesses and positions and on the board and leadership. And I lead C-Suite Network, which is a world's largest, trusted network of C-Suite executives. And we have C-Suite TV, C-Suite Radio, C-Suite Book Club, and a whole host of other branded products for C-Suite executives.
Well, that's amazing. That is an impressive curriculum vitae for sure. So you have no problem with authority and visibility, do you?
Not too much. Well, some people might say maybe too much sometimes, but I always tell people it's not bragging when it's true. That's one. And then 2, I've just done a great deal, in my career. I'm from South Dakota. And that's what I always tell everybody. I'm just a guy from South Dakota trying to make a living, doing what I'm doing. And, I split my time between, places like South Dakota, where I'm from, and still that's what I consider home, and then New York and Miami, which I have places, and then, around the globe doing what we do.
Well, Jeffrey, that I know we have a lot of listeners in our audience that's saying, "Man, that's kind of what I want to achieve." We're looking at that level of where you're basically free to build your own business, do your own. How do you get to the point though where people know who you are, where everybody knows who Jeffery Hayzlett is? How do you get and break through to that point where you're just a guy from South Dakota to where you're who you are now?
A lot of freaking hard work. That's how you do it. I mean, it doesn't come overnight. I mean, listen, everybody in business has a chance to do something and do it well or not do it well. And the model that a lot of people, I always tell everybody, especially in today's world of Instagram and TikTok and everything else, you could choose fame or you could choose fortune in terms of your business model, especially for executives or thought leaders, someone who's trying to coach, train, teach, and that. But everybody has to be a thought leader today. Everybody has to be a media company today. Right. But you have to choose between fame and fortune. I've always chose fortune. And the reason I've chosen fortune and focused in on, doing a job well and doing it as best I possibly can, and then making money from it. Because one, making money is how we keep score. The other thing is, if you do well with what you do, you'll get to be known for what you do and how you do it. And you get the fame for free, or you'll have enough money you can buy it if you want it. But that's a big piece. But it's truly by, I think, most people, and what you should focus in is the values, the core values of who you are and what you want to be. What are your own personal conditions of satisfaction? For me, it's about building wealth because I want to have a better life for my family, my children and my grandchildren and their children to come, much different than how I grew up, in terms of, I grew up in a very not so well-to-do family. It was, middle class family. My father was in the military. My mother was a bookkeeper, but we shopped at Sears, we shopped at Kmart. We, didn't have a lot. We lived in mobile home park for much of my life. And then I wanted to be different. And the second condition of satisfaction for me is I want to do things that are interesting, that I learn from. And I get to a point, no matter what corporate position I've had or what board I'm at, once I start getting bored with it and I'm not learning new things, I want to move on, no matter what, no matter how much I'm getting paid. I've walked away from Fortune 100 jobs because at the end of 4 years, which I thought I'd only last 2, I thought, I'm out of here. And then last but not least, I got to have fun. To me, you got to have fun. You got to like the people you're working with. You got to respect the people you're working with. You got to respect the people you're working for, because, you said, hey, get to this level. Hey, my friend, no matter how big you think you are, there's always someone bigger. And, and even though I might be working for myself, I'm always working for somebody else. And there's always, in everything we do in life, there's a customer and there's a performer. And there's always a customer out there, that's directing what you do, how you do it. So no matter if you think you're on your, going to do it all by yourself or do it your way, there's always somebody else that's impacting that.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. That's so important to understand that we're all in customer facing business. even when we go into business for ourselves, we're basically just saying, well, my client's my new boss.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is a good way to look at it in many ways. But so, a lot of people want to go that route though of getting the fame first and the fortune a little bit later. But I'm liking the idea that that really it kind of can, the other way around can work for you, and the other way around, in fact, can be the better way of doing that. So, what ways do you feel like someone that is an entrepreneur CEO that isn't particularly well known yet, that may have a great business that's being built, how do they get to be noticed while increasing their fortune, while also still building up fame and visibility?
That is probably one of the best questions I've ever been asked on a podcast. And I'm serious about that. And the reason I say that is because I said earlier in this conversation, you have to be a media company. I don't care if you're a Fortune 100 company or you're a dry cleaner in Kansas City, Missouri. You have to become more than just a dry cleaner in Kansas City. You have to become the doctor of spots now. Because who's going to find you? How are they going to find you? You have to go tell the story. You have to show that you stand above all the other dry cleaners in that area. And so that's what you have to do. You have to position yourself as an expert or as a thought leader. There's difference, okay? Either as an expert and or a thought leader. And you can be both of those, but you can't be an expert and a thought leader. You can't, you got to have a little bit of balance between the two because they're different, all right? And a thought leader has a lot of other things required of them in terms of being quoted, having haters, and a whole host of other things that come with being a thought leader that you have to have. But nonetheless, you have to become that person. And so, I'm known for innovation. I'm not just innovation. I'm known for turnaround. I'm known for being able to drive, businesses that have been down and doing it at multiple times in great scale. You might even say a hyperscaler. That's what I'm known for in the corporate world, and for a lot of businesses, that's why they hire me, and being able to put those big deals together. Now, so to do that, then I want to be seen as that. And to be seen as that, I've got to have a show called All Business, which is television and radio or podcast. And so what you want to be able to do is find the medium that's right for you to tell the story, and also the medium that's right, or content area that's right for you that people want to know about. All right, that's it. So, for instance, we tell people who have podcasts on C-Suite Radio, we have hundreds of podcasts on our network. I tell them, don't focus in on the numbers, because everybody likes, oh, I want all these downloads. Well, that doesn't mean anything. All you need is one download, or the right download, or 6 of the right downloads, or 10 of the right downloads, and it's paid for itself in order of what, you're doing the podcast. So let's imagine you're doing a podcast every week like you're doing, Andrew. Well, I tell people, go and interview the people you want to do business with. Okay. By and large, if you're really good or you start having great conversation, they get a sense of what you do and how you do it. And I'll guarantee you'll close 20, 30% of them. Now, you want to close more? Well, you either got to be really good at your close ratio and really good at the close and the offer that you have, or just do more podcasts. Yeah, that's simple. Instead of going weekly, you do twice a week, 3 times a week, 4 times a week. So there's lots of different ways you can do that. Or articles. I can tell you right now on C-Suite Network, we just relaunched our news site last night. But consistently over the last couple of years, the number one thing that people come and do on our site is read articles by C-Suite Network advisors, by experts and thought leaders who are, do what they do and do it well. That's so you can still write articles, you can still do blogs, you can still do Twitter, you can still do LinkedIn posts, you can still do all those things. But the key is you got to do them. And that's what stops most people, is they just don't do those things. And so you have to realize that, hey, I don't know, you remember Yellow Page ads? Nobody does those anymore,
Right. I haven't
even
seen one in years.
Yeah, but even Google ads, I know many businesses that don't do that,
Yeah.
So, now we're doing different things. And I was just, excuse me, just a minute ago, pardon me for my cough. I'm still getting over pneumonia, but
I'm sorry.
yeah, it's okay. No one died. That's most important.
That's always good. Yeah.
No one died. But I was just talking to a new podcast network about advertising on their network in order to drive more people into our network or our followers. I mean, that's what you have to do. And so, you spend the time and do the things you need to do.
I mean, would it be fair to say now that if you are going to build a business for yourself, that you have to consider yourself to be a content producer as well, no matter what you're in?
If you're not, let me just go ahead and predict when you're going to die, or go out of business, because you will. You really truly do, because it used to be that, we could advertise, right? And it was enough. But now we've become this deselect society, right? Where we think, where everybody who's consuming information looks at everything in a blink of an eye, or in two notes, okay, or by what they see or what they hear or what they feel, and they select or deselect. They find it to be relevant or irrelevant to what they want. So yeah, you have to be a content, and you have to be looking for it. I mean, you even got to get smart about how people search for your content. Like, the first thing I do when I write an article is look for the 10 most common things people search for around that topic, and then try to formulate my article based upon those searches, right? So, is that, that being disingenuous? No, I'm serving that customer well. I'm serving that person well. And then, of course, I get great research results as a result of it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so fascinating. There's a great tangent for us to kind of go down, because it's not just producing a mass amount of content and putting it out there for everyone to see. It's about finding the right audience. It's about finding the right set of eyes. I mean, for example, when we started our business very early, we tried to do just a generic Facebook ad run. We did not get our right clients for that. People were interested, but not people that particularly could engage with us and perform in our process. So how do you then, you've touched a little bit on it, how do you then find the ways to get to the right people, the people that are going to be your leads that are going to close for you?
By looking at past history of what you already have. That gives you a predictor of what it is, right? A lot of people like to build it and hope they'll come. Well, all you'll have is a baseball field in the middle of Iowa no one wants to go see. Yeah. So that's great, and maybe a movie about it, but you know what I'm talking about. So, let me just give you, I will add millions to our top line and millions to my bottom line this year, just by increasing 10 of these, 100 of these, 300 of these, and maybe 1,000 of these. And I will add millions to my downline. But let me reverse that. That 10 is greater than the other half of that list. So all I need is 10. 10 will result in millions of dollars, and quite frankly, millions of profit in my pocket as a result of just finding those 10. So now I have to focus on the 10. So what are the characteristics of the people that are, or businesses that are like that want to hire me, to provide them with strategic consulting to help them hyper scale? That's what I have to do. So I just got to find those. So, and how do I do that? Well, I insert what I do into podcasts. I insert how I do it into a speech. I insert how I do it into an article, and how I hyperscaled DocuSign. How I joined DocuSign from when it had 18 or 20 employees till when we took it public for 21 billion, and I served on the board, and what we did. Okay, and so all I need is 10 people, the right 10 people to read that article, right? So it really gets down to understanding your avatar for the person you're trying to solve and serve. And then with that, I always answer, what problem are we trying to solve? Then my son, Tyler, who's our chief marketing officer for the C-Suite Network, probably one of the most brilliant people I've met, because he, when he was a kid, he would just say, he'd grab a pen and said, "Dad, how does the ink come out?" Like what? He's like 4 years old asking me a question like that. Well, so now he's 30 something and he's still asking me questions like that. And I said, "Quit talking to me." So, because I can't answer his questions. So But he once said to me, he said, Dad, that's, what's marketing? And I said, well, marketing is the inception of the idea all the way through customer satisfaction. He said, isn't it really about getting in front of the people and solving the problem that they want you to solve? Yeah, right. So that's how I look at things today. So now I say, okay, what is the problem we're trying to solve, and how do I apply it, and how do I get that message in front of other people? Because there comes the real value, right? There becomes the real money I can put out. It's like when I talk to people about, hey, you want to hire us for a couple of months or whatever it might be, for the price of a good salesperson.
Mhm.
Now I never tell them what is the price. I want them to tell me what the price of it is. Is it $150,000 salesman or $400,000 salesperson? And there's lots of different ways to get at that. So you just get very smart about it. But the key thing is really start focusing on that. As you said, how do I find them, or what are they, or where they at? Is past actions give you predictive behavior for the future, right? And then being able to figure out what problems you're trying to solve.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it's also a little bit of the element of the medium too. I mean, what medium are you going to use to reach your ideal
Yeah.
clientele? I mean,
Well, that's the easy one. Whatever one they're listening to or watching or reading. There you go. So I love people say, well, I only do things on here. Well, okay, go. That's all you're going to mine is there. But let's say you're trying to catch a sea bass. You're not going to catch a sea bass in a lake.
mhm.
Okay. So you have to be where those people are. And one of the best things I ever learned as a marketer is not to change behavior, but to capture behavior.
Gotcha.
So I want to go to where the people are, and I want to, it's like, remember Sam Kinison, the comedian?
Oh yeah, I loved his stuff. Yeah.
And he used to have that routine about, people live in the desert. You live in the desert, you're starving. No wonder there's no food grows in the desert, right? Move to where the food is, so you're living in frickin' sand. And I think that's an important message for most of us is go to where the food is, go to where the people are, and find out, where they're at. And that's where you should be, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of our clients and a lot of our listeners right now, they're thinking to themselves, well, how do I integrate this with the idea of a book? So a lot of them are actually in the process of putting together something that is the central cornerstone of their searchable social media. So basically their business Bible, their new business card. Would you recommend them having something like that to be a central point?
Absolutely. You want to be a thought leader, you got to have a book. I mean, it's table stakes.
Right.
So you got to be able to have that. And then the next thing would be to have your own podcast, have your own TV show,
Yeah.
Have something else that can also provide you with some greater scale in order to get your IP out to where you want it to be. So without question, you want to be a book. And I've written four bestsellers already. I'm working on another one. And I was on the phone yesterday with a company that's hiring us again for the price of a salesperson.
Yeah.
That's hiring us to do some strategic hyper scaling of their business. And the first thing I said to the CEO, let's get you a book. And he said, well, I've been working on one. I said, how long have you been working on one? For a year and a half. Oh my God, we'll have a book done for you in 3 months, and we'll have it out within 6, and we'll make it a bestseller on here. We'll make it the bestseller here. And now, but while we're doing it for 6 months, we're going to put out a white paper based on the book, and at least start, again, crawl, walk, run, and make some new things happen. So yeah, the answer is yeah, you got to have a book. Yeah, it's good.
I think about it like and a lot of what you're saying here also makes me think about the butterfly effect. A previous podcast, I mentioned that as well. The idea of butterfly flaps its wings in Africa, creates a hurricane in South America. What kind of things can you do that are butterfly effects for business? The little things that you can activate, like maybe having a book, that then have repercussive effects that long-term will just unlock and build more and more upon itself.
Having a great network. What are you doing to increase your impact, your reach? So for me, I think it's about reach, discovery, and then conversion. Mm-hmm. So first of all, you got to have good reach, right? And then people have to be able to find you. So, it all starts with your network. So, and then the other piece of it is you got to have great content, right? Yeah. So you got to be good at what you do. Because if it's like somebody says, Jeff, how come I've been on C-Suite Radio and my numbers haven't gone up? Well, what's the deal? I thought they were going to go up. Well, if you really want me to be real blunt with you, your content sucks. So you got to focus in on the content first. You got a good product. You can get by with selling a shitty product, but you can only get by with it for so long.
So exactly.
So it's going to catch up to you. So first of all, you got to have that, but really then it's about that network, and you asked me about my success. I was on the phone with Trish Regan, a good friend of mine. She and I were, she was an anchor at Bloomberg, and I had a primetime show on Bloomberg, and I was a contributing editor for a couple of years there. And then she went to Fox Business, and so I was on the phone with her today, and we were talking about that, and she said to the chairman of this other network, we were all on the three-way call. She goes, Jeff Hayzlett's the kind of person you want to take to every party, every function, everything, because he's whispering in your ear, well, that's the CEO of that, that's the so and so of that. You could ask me who the best singer of this song is. I don't know. You can ask me the best football player. I don't know. I don't know any of those people. None, zero. But I can tell you who's the CEO of this company, who's the CMO of this company, what company they were at before, this one, because that's where I spend my time. That's where I'm the greatest of all times. And so that network that I built over the years, because anyone can call me, and I respond back. They can text me, whatever. I built up that network. So it's massive. So, I got 1 million followers. Okay, well, that's great, but it doesn't mean anything if they're not engaged. And I'm not engaged with them. And I stay pretty much half the time I'm texting people, emailing people, and they're going, whoever's doing this for Jeff, please say hello. And I always text them back. That's me. I'm doing it because I'm staying in touch with my network all the time. And I think that's an important thing for people to be able to do.
All this sounds like a lot of hard work.
Well, it is hard work. It is hard work. It's fun. It's fun too. I consider it fun, but let's be clear. It is hard work. It's hard work because it's called hard work, because it is.
Right.
And if it were easy, everyone would do it. That's why there's only so many people at so many levels doing it at the levels that they do it. That's it. End of story. And yeah, you want to do it. Then I was in the office by 6:15 this morning. Okay. So let's go. Game on. How many the rest of you were? I will finish sometime tonight, 11 or 12 tonight, and I'll be back in here tomorrow morning. All right. That doesn't mean, I'm a workaholic. I enjoy doing. I can't wait to go to bed at night, to hurry up and sleep, just so I can get going the next day. That's the way you should approach life, and you should approach business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I mean, that just speaks so much just of the perseverance that you have to have, and the kind of the concept of I'll rest when I'm dead.
Yeah, exactly.
That you have to think about when you're pushing through with this. All right.
But by the way, you got to balance also, dude. You got to have a balance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Without question, you got to have a balance. Otherwise you give it. It's like a 4-way teeter-totter, and you press on one side, it's got to give on the other. And you've got to have that balance between those 4 sides of your life.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to ask for help as well. That's something that obviously for your Leaders Help Press, obviously we help people build their books. I know you help with your networks. Yep. So yeah, you shouldn't be afraid, should you, to seek out ways in which you can outsource what you can.
Amen. You got a heart problem, go to cardiologist, not a general practitioner down the street. You got a muffler problem, go to Midas, not the Amoco station down the street. Right. Find the expert that can get to where you want, cut through it, and get them on top of what you want to do and where you want to go in a heartbeat. Ask for it, raise for it, spend it, do it, what you have to do. That gets you there.
Wouldn't it be fair to say, and this is just from this podcast and from summits and webinars and interviews that I've been doing, a lot of the people that I've spoken to, when I ask them, what would be your advice? They say, my advice would be do what I did, but do it sooner than I did it.
Always. Yeah. Oh, without question. And bigger and faster with more bravado, more zeros on it, the whole bit. Exactly. I'm a slow starter. And even with all the greatest things I've ever done, I'm in 5 Business Hall of Fames, and the things that we've done, 5 bestsellers, primetime, number 1 primetime business show on the networks, all the podcast started on CBS Network, everything, and yet I would still tell you I'm a slow starter. So yeah.
Well, you and me both, Jeffrey. Well, hey, how can people find you? How can our listeners find you and possibly do some business with you?
You bet. Just look on LinkedIn, look on Twitter, look on Facebook. You can find me on our website, hayzlett.com or csuitenetwork.com. And it's Jeffery Hayzlett, Hayzlett, and just reach out to me, and it will be me who responds, by the way. It won't be somebody else. It's me.
Fantastic. Well, Jeffrey, it was a real pleasure having you. We could probably talk for hours.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, the format demands that we part ways now, but hopefully we'll have another conversation in the future. So I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you, Andrew.
All right, thank you.